Today's panel, we're going to keep things kind of conversational. I shared all of these questions with our panelists ahead of time, and they've been reflecting on the different kinds of support they've received throughout their experience with myeloma. We'll begin with kind of a round robin format, but we hope the discussion flows naturally into more of an open conversation. So to get us started, I'd like to ask Carol to answer this first question, then we'll move around to Julia and Steve as well. So each of you found strength in different communities, faith, AA, family, integrative care. How did you discover which kind of support was right for you? Carol, can you start us off?
Yeah, sure. I was diagnosed a long time ago, 2011. So I did not have HealthTree available at that time. And I'll start with that. More recently, because I'm involved with HealthTree, I I do use that as my backup. I can get information from there. I can meet people, and I have met quite a few people. Um, and that's a go-to for all kinds of support. However, when I was first diagnosed, as I said, I didn't have HealthTree, and I was kind of floundering because nobody had ever heard of it, and at least in my circle of people. And the oncologist had told me at the time that I would die in 5 to 7 years, so they weren't very comforting for me. I did try a couple of support groups. And while they were wonderful and people were nice, that it didn't click with me. And maybe it was just that particular area. I was in Florida at the time. I did get into a chat group online, and that did help me out quite a bit for a while because I was after my stem cell transplant, I was isolated for quite a while, so I was engrossed in that. But what I found for me, just me, I became so immersed in all of that chat room stuff. I all I thought about was cancer and dying. So that didn't really help me. And I'm not saying it's not a great place for people, but for me, it was a little bit off. I then tried. I heard about the YMCA, and they had a program for cancer patients where you could go to the gym with a group of people, and they would walk you through the machines. That was wonderful. I think I'm a person that needs activities more than just sitting down. And that was just a wonderful program. I met people and I got stronger there. But my number one go-to was my naturopath. I had been working with her before I was diagnosed, and she was literally the only medical professional who said, Carol, I've got your back. We're going to get through this. And here I am today, way past the expiration date I was given. And I mean, she's just been my rock. She changed my diet with me. I'm working with her on a lot of different supplements. I've had infusions to support my immune system, especially when I was on my chemo drugs. Um, she's just been delightful for me, and yeah, I can't say enough about my naturopath. So that naturopath today, I go to my naturopath and I use HealthTree, and I'm pretty much guaranteed I will find what I need in one of those two areas.
I love that. I hadn't heard the story about the YMCA. That's kind of
Yeah,
a cool program that they had. That's amazing. I love that. Thank you.
yeah, it was great.
Perfect. Julia, could you walk us through your discovery of the support group that was right for you?
Yes, thank you for having me. I discovered which type of support I needed basically through time and the process of treatment. Initially when I was diagnosed, um, it was my husband and we were just trying to process everything we had just been told. So I was in the midst of processing that with Mike, my two boys, Michael and Zachary. um, I am not that person that opens up to people I don't really know. So, dear friends, family, that was my core. I relied, I could not see me in a group setting of sorts. I wasn't ready for that. It wasn't time. I relied heavily on Mike, and I relied heavily on some close friends, basically, just to give me that shot in the arm. I relied heavily, heavily on my medical team. I took everything that my doctors said, did everything they told me to do. Quite honestly, when I was first diagnosed, I just wanted to be on the other side of it, to open up to somebody and, spew all my cancer stuff. I was not comfortable doing that. So we remained very, tight in my little circle. And that at that time, that was my support system.
Thank you so much. Steve, would you like to unmute and let us know a little bit about the discovery of your support?
Oh, sure. Well, thank you all. Thanks again for doing this service. Where do you begin? 5 years ago, we came home from a glorious trip, and I went for my annual checkup. There was nothing wrong with me. I was terrific. I was having a life.
Oh, I think we might have lost Steve. Um,
Oh,
I got him a little bit frozen. Everybody,
Yeah, it froze for me too.
yeah. He's back.
there you go. We can hear you again, Steve.
Okay, I'll start again. We were having an incredible. I was 79 years old, and we were having an incredible retirement. And I walked in, as I did every December, for my annual checkup. Nothing wrong with me. And 2 weeks later, they told me I had 6 months to a year and a half to live. Um, I I have multiple myeloma and plasma cell leukemia. And not only that, they told me I was too old for a transplant. I was 79. They had never done a transplant on somebody that old before, and I may not even make it through the chemo. Anyway, I have been a member of a 12-step program for 35 years, 25 at that time. And I got clean and sober in 1989, and have been working with other alcoholics and drug addicts my whole life, it seems. And I intuitively knew what to do. I immediately fired that doctor. I turned to my wife, and she winked, and I winked, and we both knew I cannot be with someone with a pessimistic attitude like that. And I also knew from my years in the program that I had to turn to God, and he would take care of me. And I also need help, because that's how we get sober, through groups, through people, others. And that's what I did. My wife, we knew immediately. We walked out of that office. We started researching. I never heard of multiple myeloma before. I didn't know one. I knew one person who had it many years ago. And they were all wrong at the hospital. I became the oldest person in the United States at that time, almost 80, to get a transplant. I had no problems with it. I had 2 years of chemo, and a year afterwards, and I'm in remission without anything. So I'm used to asking for help, and I'm used to turning to God, and I'm used to, my wife is a research specialist. I could not do this alone. Eastern European men always think we can handle everything by ourselves. So this went against my whole inner being to ask for help. And I must put a plug in for the coach program at HealthTree. I could not, I'm not, the doctors, we all go to the top doctors. We all go to the top hospitals. We all do this, and we get second opinions, and we all do all of that stuff. But I would not be alive today if it wasn't for my wife and my son being with me every step of the way. And the coach team at HealthTree. I had a coach as a patient. My wife had a coach as a caretaker, her own coach. And the four of us, I don't know, somehow we just got around, and I figured out what to do. So here I am today, and a strong believer in a team effort. Now, I'm not talking about the doctors or the hospital. I'm talking about the psychological help from other people and from God and from, I couldn't do it alone. I'm in total remission. So thank you all, and thank you, HealthTree.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steve. I was not expecting the plug for Coach, but I do appreciate it. If anybody on the call hasn't heard of Coach or wants to learn more, I'll have my email at the end of the session. You can reach out and we can get connected because, like Steve said, it is an amazing program and it is a way to create and find community. So thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. You've each touched on a different kinds of support that have helped you along the way, whether that's being through family, faith, recovery communities, or integrative care. Support can look so different for each person, but sometimes it's just one moment or one gesture or one conversation that makes a lasting impact. So with that in mind, I'd love to hear, can you share a moment when your support network made a significant difference in how you coped with myeloma? And if it's okay, Julia, can I ask you to start us off with that one?
Sure, absolutely. I support made a difference for me a little bit prior to actually starting my treatment. There was a gentleman that my husband worked with who had multiple myeloma. That was the only way we really heard about it. And he was diagnosed with it probably 10 years ago and is very difficult to get a hold of because he's always traveling. So that conversation that I had with him gave me that confidence that, boy, this can be a tough journey, because he did tell me everything about what was going on, but that we can do it. So he was really the only person that I reached out to. And Mike, my husband, he was my main support. He has been my everything. He was in the hospital with me when I had my transplant, and he continues to go to all my treatments and all my doctor's appointments with me to this day. But that one phone call, where I reached out to somebody, which was very unusual. That you don't want to burden people with your illnesses, quite honestly. But to hear him and tell me what, some of the things to expect, and the fact that he's traveling all the time, I thought, okay, this is going to make a difference in how I coped with this disease. And that's where it made a change for me. So
Thank you. I like that. Just hearing from somebody else who had been through a similar situation, which again is one of those things that I've admired about this community, is that everybody's so willing to share, but also um, that's kind of what helps with the connection. It helps us bring us all together with our common stories and experiences. So thank you. Steve, would you be able to answer that question about what one specific moment made a significant impact in how you coped with myeloma?
Oh yeah, sure. I I shared about that moment at the beginning of my journey when my wife and I both know that we have the power to have a team, and that moment I realized that I couldn't do it myself. Absolutely, the terror of dying is all consuming. It's just overtakes that the glass is always half empty. By next Thursday, I'm going to be gone. Nothing is going to work. There are no treatments. And all we hear is the percentage of this and the percentage of that. Um, I I think most cancer patients absolutely need someone standing next to us who will listen to what the other person, the doctor, the chemo, the oncologist, the transplant is saying. And so many times I heard them say different things than what were actually said. And it's so important for me to be able to go home and compare the notes with my wife, who says, no, he didn't say that. He didn't say that you'd be dead in 6 months. He said that without treatment, you're going to be. And I never heard that. I never heard that. I just want to hear the worst. So that moment, and now with HealthTree, um, and with others, if you can get somebody to go with you for every treatment, and now because of iPhones, if you can't physically get someone to be in that room with that doctor or practitioner, all you do is bring your iPhone and you ask the doctor if you can use it, and you put it on speakerphone and you put it on video, whatever, and he can be talking to your wife, your caretaker, at home while you're next to him in the room and talking up and back. So you don't have to be alone with these doctors, even if your loved one can't make it that day. So thank you all.
I love that. And that reminder that, technology, as we talked about in the beginning, it can kind of feel like it separates us in so many ways, but that's a wonderful example of how it can help with those connections. So thank you. Carol, how about you?
Yeah, I just want to say, Steve, I love your idea with the phone. That's a great idea. And I also feel that it's important for everybody to have somebody like a buddy, like you said, that can go with you to these appointments and help you decipher it. My husband went initially for my early years, he went with me, and I agree with you. It's very, very helpful because you're like a deer in the headlight, and sometimes you just can't pay attention. And honestly, when I was first diagnosed, I probably cried at every single doctor's office I went to. So I just wasn't absorbing a lot of information. But I'm going to go back to my naturopath. I've struggled a lot after my stem cell transplant. I was very, very thin. I wasn't sleeping. I didn't know what to eat because they tell you have to eat processed foods. And that's not the way I like to eat. So it was a mess. It was just a mess. So I turned to Dr. Young, and she guided me with my food, my supplements. I removed toxins from my house. No aerosol sprays, no microwaves. And I tried becoming a vegetarian for a while and then a vegan for a while, but I was too thin. So I had to go back to, chicken and fish and eggs and all that. Um, I am still on, but I was on a number of supplements. They've changed a little over the years based on blood work and all that. Um, and while I was on Revlimid, I did have some infusions to boost my immune system during treatment. Um, and I started exercising a lot more. I did also retire. I know a lot of people can't. My husband gave me his blessing, but I retired because I thought I wasn't going to make it much longer. So why would I just work for the last few years of my life? I was able to retire and focus more on my health, exercise, and really try to focus on happiness and living as opposed to cancer and dying. Um, so my naturopath really helped me turn a corner in my whole body, my whole life, not just my head. She also supported me mentally. I cried at her office a lot too. So I was always bringing tissues with me. So yeah, she's been my rock, 100%.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I'm with you with the tears. So I totally understand that. So as we talk about the many forms of support, it's clear that what we need and how we define support can shift over time. What might have been helpful early on may look a little bit different now, especially as you've moved through different phases. With that in mind, I'd like to ask, has your definition of support changed since being diagnosed? And if so, how? Can I start off with Steve? Could you answer how that definition of support might have changed, or is it the same? Has
Right.
it?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Everybody, I'm 84 years old. I'm the grandfather of this group. So technology
Great.
is, I should bring a granddaughter with me. My 11-year-old probably could do this better than I am. Okay. Anyway, yeah, yes, absolutely has changed. many of us are very intimidated by doctors. Now, I'm a retired dentist. I've been on hospital staffs my whole life. And um, there's a hesitancy to question your doctor. There's a hesitancy to change doctors. There's a hesitancy to find out a second opinion or a third opinion or a fourth. There's a hesitancy that they won't like me. There's a hesitancy on and on and on. And thankfully, and thank God, I married a woman, we're married 63 years, who doesn't have that worries. And but she's always been that way, but it's because she doesn't have the cancer and she doesn't, whatever it is. So the important thing for me was to have her next to me, one way or another, to ask the questions that I was hesitant to ask, and to fire the doctor and change and to say to the doctor, I'm getting a second opinion without I would. So it is so important to have somebody that can do for you that which you cannot do for yourself. Everybody knows their own personality. If some people cry, like was just said, I'm Eastern European. Men don't cry. We just don't cry. My wife's a crier. I mean, that's just the way it is. So it is so important for me to have her next to me asking the questions that I still hesitate to ask. So that, that's works for me, and I hope you all can find someone to go with you, to be with you. It could be an adult child, it could be anybody, friend, who is not intimidated by the medical profession and ask questions that maybe I don't want to ask. Thank you.
I love it. So I don't know if I've introduced myself, but I am a nurse. And you would think as a nurse, I would be my best advocate. And I am terrible at it. And I'm terrible at advocating for my kids or my husband. So whenever somebody talks about self-advocacy, I'm just in awe. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Steve. Let's see. Carol, do you want to go next?
Oh, sure, sure. Um, Back in the beginning in 2011, I broke my neck skimboarding, which I know is a really silly thing to do, but I had a plasmacytoma, and so it was a good thing that I did that, and that started my journey. So initially, I needed physical support, like major physical support, because I was in so much pain. And then I had to have surgery, and then I had to have radiation. So I needed drivers, I needed somebody to help me with food. I was in so much pain. But luckily, I did have, my husband, my daughter, and some local friends who were retired. So they were able to drive me around. And then my husband, I couldn't deal with anything initially because I just was emotionally a mess. I really was. And so he took care of like all the insurance paperwork and calls. He would help me with, other things if I needed something for a doctor. He also went to appointments and took notes as well, like Steve's wife. So that was very, very helpful. Um, and like I agree with him. If you try to find somebody to help you, just be your support. If a friend, a neighbor, somebody from church, something, because that's important. However, nowadays I am in remission. I've been since 2019, and I find I need more emotional support now, and I need my friends and family. I need activities. I like to do stuff. I like to, laugh. I want to go for a walk, zip line, pickleball, swimming, whatever's out there. So for me, I need to be social and connect with people because I got to tell you, when COVID happened, that was a dark time for me because I wasn't seeing people as much, and I did dip down into a deep sadness. But yeah, so today I'm active. I try to be around people. I try to stay positive. I think a positive attitude is huge, at least for me. I am hopeful, and I'm on the other side with my brain. I don't think the negative stuff anymore. So yeah, it's shifted. It has shifted over time.
That makes sense. As we were talking a couple of different times ago, I know when you're in the acute phase and there's so much going on, definitely it makes sense that that support would change over time. So thank you for talking through that. Julia, how about you?
My definition of support changed probably a year after my transplant and slash diagnosis. As I mentioned before, I had a very close circle. The person that had myeloma was the only person that we ever talked to outside of our circle regarding my illness. So, um, you know, Mike and I did talk to a therapist a couple months after I came home from my transplant because I felt like we needed somebody to unload on, you know, just a neutral ear, somebody we could talk to about what we had been through, our fears, our hopes, what our fears still were, somebody to just chat with. We did that for about a month. But it really changed for me when my specialist, my doctor, had mentioned that there was an organization that had multiple myeloma mentors, and he thought I would be a good person to talk to other people about multiple myeloma. And so I thought if I could, help someone through what I went through who was similar to me, did not want to speak to a group, did not want to, throw all this on our family and friends, then I would try that. So basically what I did is I became a coach, and through the coaching program, I was able to talk to people who had the same thing I did. It's one thing to have family and friends. Nobody really understands the nuances of multiple myeloma. So in helping others, in the coachees that I met, helped me immensely because you're speaking to somebody who, is going through this. You're helping someone through the same things that you went through. And quite honestly, the other coaches have become a huge support family. I mean, we're all kind of kindred spirits. This is not really a place we would like to be, but if you can find people with, like issues, it helps you get through the day. I mean, so it doesn't change the family friend arm that I have. It just adds to my support system. It has helped me find, new drugs and new ways to help my coachees. And quite honestly, I've been coaching people for over 2 years. We have become, some of my coachees and I have become friends. We talk, we get on our Zoom and we talk, how you doing? What's going, are you feeling well? What treatment are you on right now? We talk about that for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then the rest of the time is basically, how's your family? What have you been up to? You're traveling. We have become friends and kindred spirits of sorts. So it has been a game changer for me in my journey through multiple myeloma. So
Love it. Thank you so much. I love, number one, the plug for therapy. I feel like that's one of those things that is becoming more common nowadays. It wasn't so much when I was younger, but I am a very big advocate for getting, help through therapy or counseling. But then again, also thank you for that plug on coach.
oh,
I
it's made
was,
a huge difference.
it's
So
amazing. I had the opportunity to go to Coach Summit a couple of weeks ago, and just being in the room with so many amazing people who that is one of the things they love most is making connections with other people and sharing experiences. It was an amazing experience.
it is.
Thank you. All right. So, with this next question, sometimes in the midst of medical decisions and treatment plans, the emotional or spiritual side of care can take a back seat. But for many, those needs are just as important to feeling whole and supported. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts on were there times when you had to advocate for your own emotional or spiritual needs during treatment? And how did that go about, how did you go about doing that? So I know we just talked a little bit about Julia reaching out and getting support emotionally with her husband. I'm going to actually jump back to Julia. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you advocated for your own emotional, spiritual, physical, anything, any of those needs?
Well, I feel like, yes, every day that I wake up, I have to advocate for my own emotional support. We have to support ourselves before we can accept the support of anyone else. So, you know, eh, you've got to give yourself that shot in the arm that I can do this. I can, you are, through transplant, through induction, you are challenged physically and emotionally. I mean, you are wiped out. And I think, you have those hard days and you just have to push yourself through those, or I did try to push myself through those so that, I could get to the other side of what I was going through. Most of us are still in treatment. I'm on a maintenance program and a lot of us still are and will be for a very long time. So every day is another one of those, like you've got to give yourself that shot in the arm. The other thing that I've found that helps me emotionally is supporting others. I mean, that to have a purpose every day, supporting someone else or being involved with other lives, volunteering for things, coaching, you know, becoming involved in other people's lives. When you do things for others, it makes you feel good and it sort of takes the weight off of what you have. I mean, other people have things too. You're going through myeloma. Well, that doesn't change that, my son might have just had some accolades at work. You are still supporting them. I'm supporting other people that have crises in their own life. So I have found it emotionally helpful for me to stay involved in other people's lives and, help them, and that helps me through my journey.
Thank you so much. Carol, do you want to go next?
Sure. Um, I'm a I'm a little bit on the quiet side. I sometimes, I withdraw a little bit. So when I was first diagnosed, I didn't really express what my needs were to my family and friends because I didn't know what they were. And so I had to speak up and because everybody wants to help, everybody wants to be there for you, but how? So I had to speak and try to let them know what I needed or didn't need. Um, and I did have to, I'll tell you, I don't know if this happens to other people, but I had more than one person in my life, well-intentioned, wonderful person, who decided that it would be helpful for me if I heard about other people that had diseases and and were dying or did die. They would tell me about their neighbor's cousin's friend's uncle who just died. And it was just a weird thing that was happening. And I know they were trying to comfort me in the grand scheme of things, but I had to and it was hard for me because like I said, I'm a little bit quieter than some people. I'm not as outgoing. And I had to say, please, could you not tell me about strangers that I know nothing about who are sick and dying? I I don't want to know that. If it's a friend that's sick or something, I absolutely will talk to them and help them out. But I didn't need to hear about all of that all the time. So that was a little awkward. And I have to tell you, I don't know if anybody else knows this, but my husband knows this now. Ever since I've been diagnosed for cancer, it just seems like every time the TV is on, I see a commercial for cancer. And I'm having a great night. I'm thinking about whatever. There's a nice show on TV, and boom, there's a commercial about cancer, and it just hits me in the gut. So my husband will grab the remote and mute it, or I will. So he's learned that to do that. Um, and I've also leaned on therapists as well. I've had to find therapists. I was in Connecticut first diagnosed. I moved to Florida. I came back recently for the grandkids, and therapists have helped me um, speak up more, you know, and understand where I'm at. And I am a little stronger. And Steve, to your point, I did fire I did fire a doctor too. And for me to have the guts to basically fire somebody like that, it was hard on me, but I had to do it. I had to do it. It was important for my whole, I need my team to be supportive of me. I need my team to have my back. I don't need somebody that's going to be negative around me when I'm trying to get through this journey and live and have a positive outlook. So I think it's really important to learn how to speak up in however you do that. But I think that it's really important that we do that. And I also agree with Julia, helping out as a coach uh, periodically is a great comfort, because I feel like I can help people in a way that was unavailable to me way in the beginning. And I have to tell you one quick story. There was a 34-year-old in Canada that was my coachee, and she was devastated. She thought she was going to die. This was it. I'm done. And I told her, no, no, no. Live your life. Have fun. You're going to be fine. And I see her on Instagram. She's all over the world, traveling, enjoying herself. And that gives me such joy to see that. And I was able to help her with that. And yeah, HealthTree is a great place for people to find all kinds of support, and really good people are in there, in the whole, including you, Cynthia, and Marisol. Really good people. Really good people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Steve, if you want to answer
Sure,
how you've
sure.
advocated.
Absolutely. Thank you. We were in an elevator one day at the hospital, and I'm there, and this woman behind in the packed elevator was coughing. So I'm shrugging down, holding my mask, and my wife turned to her and said, "Listen, my husband has multiple myeloma. He just had a transplant. You can't be coughing. Either put a mask on or please get off the elevator." Now, I wouldn't have said that in 4,000 years. 1,000 years, I wouldn't have. And she said to this woman, "And you're a nurse," because she was wearing a nurse's thing, coughing. And the nurse said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," blah, blah, blah. Just the opposite reaction. And she put whatever. But that's what somebody can do for you that you can't do for yourself. Anyway, the prayer that you're talking about, I can't live without prayer. I can't live without my higher power. I can't live without God in my corner. I don't pray for success. I pray that he will give me the courage and the power and the intellect to handle whatever he's putting before me. I've been a member of AA for decades and decades, and I'm used to this. I went to my doctor once and I said, "Do you think I should join one of the cancer group?" And he said, "Oh no, I don't think so." Famous doctor, because it could be very depressing. Well, a guy in Florida 3 years ago started a cancer group for people with cancer who are in recovery, who are either recovering drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever. And I'm a member of that group for the last 2 years, and only for patients. No doctors, no spouses, no kids, no this, no that. And it has been, for me, a godsend. It started out with 50 people 1 day a week. We're up to 150 people 3 days a week. It's become international. Cancer patients call from London and Ireland and all over Canada. So it's not for everyone. But by coming into this meeting that I do 3 times a week and helping another cancer patient and understanding what they're going through, because I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want this to offend anybody, but how many places can you go in this whole world and say, I was at a store and I shit in my pants. How many places can you do that? And every cancer patient, every chemo patient, every knows exactly what that's like. The terror of being in a restaurant and not making it to the bathroom. But the room of AA for cancer patients, we talk about that as if it's a common, and everybody nods their head because all cancer patients have gone through this stuff. All cancer patients have told friends. I mean, I don't want to keep hearing people who died. I just, we don't, whatever. So I'm just saying that if for some people, being in a group of cancer patients and hearing about some of my friends died in that room, and some were newly diagnosed, and some were all different things. And I just want to finish up by saying one famous person that was in that AA room from London, very famous, and she was dying. And somebody from our group flew over to London to be with her at her bedside. So this is God. This is God. HealthTree is God in action. Quickly, one quick thing. Just before I'm old, so if I don't say it, I'll forget it. Sorry. There was a study by the American Medical Association. All they did was compare cancer patients who have God and have an upbeat personality in their life versus those that don't. And it's been proven that those with a feeling optimistic and have a spiritual connection do live longer. All right, that's enough of me. Thank you all.
No, I love that. I love that. Thank you. Um, Julia, sorry, were you going to say something? I saw your.
No, I absolutely love his reference to not making it to the bathroom because nobody talks about it, but it happens to all of us.
Love it. Love it. I feel like that's, when you find your groups or you find your people, those stories are what kind of, mesh you together really strongly.
That's
So thank
exactly
you.
right. It doesn't make you seem like such, oh my gosh. No, it is what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. All right. So we know that finding support isn't always easy, especially for those who might feel isolated or unsure of where to begin. Not everyone immediately knows where to turn or what kind of support they need, and that can feel overwhelming. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What advice would you give to someone who feels isolated or isn't sure where to start when it comes to building a support system? And let's start with you, Carol.
Okay. Today, now that I know about HealthTree, I would always say go to HealthTree. It's such a unique um, site with so much. I can't express how much information is there, how many connections you can make. You could go to seminars, you can get education, you could talk to somebody, there's a chat option, you could find your twin. There's so many things you can do, or you don't have to talk to anybody. You can just, peruse the whole thing yourself. But I think that is where I would start just to get you going and start a community of like minds, as Steve has explained. We need somebody who understands what we're going through, and it's nobody's fault that they don't understand.
Right.
Thankfully, a lot of people will never understand, but it is unique what we're going through. And even me now being uh, not on maintenance, and by the way, I had to fight with the doctors about that. This was a while ago. Granted, I know they do it now much easier, but they wanted me to stay on maintenance. And I'm like, I need a break. My numbers are good. No, so I had to do that. But you can go to HealthTree and get everything you need, I believe, as far as support and isolation and all that. I also think if you have family and friends, talk to them, open up and tell them what you need. I want to go out. I need to be out once a week. I need to do this. I need to do that. And if you're interested in something, I know Julia and I were talking about art. If you have a hobby or a sport or something that you enjoy, and I did this in Florida. I joined an outdoor, it's called, Julia can correct me, plein air. I think it's called plein air painting. So
Correct.
you paint outside, and I met a group of women, and they had nothing to do with cancer, but I was with them, and I would go outside painting a little bit. Mind you, it wasn't very good, my painting, but it was just getting out and not being isolated. So if you can find something you enjoy, try to, even though if you're shy, and I kind of am, just try, just try. Because being with other people and being out doing something, I think is very good, not only for your body, but also your brain. It can help you heal in more ways than you realize.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Steve to go next. Just talking about what advice would you give someone who feels isolated and isn't
Okay.
sure where to
Yeah.
go to start building that support system?
Yeah. I just want to say in that respect that looking at my life now, um, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing that ever happened to me. Today, it taught me to live one day at a time. It taught me to live each day as if it were my last. It taught me to reach out and help other people who are worse. I'm 84 years old and I go to the damn hospital and there are 30-year-olds that have it, mothers of 3. How can I complain? It taught me that I am responsible to do that, and that I hate, really, I'm not a holy roller. You guys know what that is. I'm not a real one of these God fanatics type thing, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts that God gave me cancer and God put me in remission when it shouldn't have, because he wants me, as God is a pain in the ass. I'm telling you that right now. He's a pain in the ass. He wants me to reach out and help other people with cancer every day of my life, every single day of my life. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm doing. And it's been an incredible journey. And we say, um, I have cancer. Cancer doesn't have me. That's what my motto is. I'm gonna die. I get some way, sometime. But until I do, I'm going to live every day. And I've shared this before. There's an old joke. It's about what you're talking about, friends talking about dying. So if one person goes over to another and says, "Oh, I hear you have multiple myeloma." I have a friend who died from multiple myeloma. And the woman says, "Oh, yeah, that's terrible. What happened?" She says, "He got hit by a bus." So, this is the way it is. And it was tougher on my wife, tougher for my friends. Thank you all.
Thank you. Carol, do you want to go ahead and say
Yeah, I
something
just
there?
wanted to say something off of what Steve just said. I know what you're saying about it being the best thing that could have happened to you. I don't exactly think that. However, it has changed me in so many ways, and some definitely for the better. And I think one of them is worry. Um, if I break a glass or my car gets scratched or, I stub my toe, I, so what? What do I care? Things that used to be bigger things are nothing to me. I worry about life and death, and so it has fundamentally changed me. So I just wanted to tap on to Steve's point, because it really changes you.
I like that. Well, and as we were talking about at the beginning, with just this epidemic of loneliness, I feel like from the outside looking in, I've seen when somebody has breast cancer, people rally around them and, same sort of thing. And I feel like I I just feel like it does open up some different, I don't want to say opportunities, but some different possibilities for connection in different ways than you maybe ever would have had otherwise. Does that make sense? And does that resonate, or am I going in the wrong direction there? Yeah, okay,
I don't know
thank
who
you.
you're talking to.
Yeah, just in general. All right, I'll let Julia finish up with this question.
Um, I, For someone looking where to start, I think they'll know when support is right, what support and what time you want support. Maybe you need it in the beginning. You need to know what's going to happen. You need somebody to talk to about this. As I mentioned, my circle was very closed. Talked to one person basically outside of my circle regarding multiple myeloma. I think you'll know when it's time. Everyone will need it at a different time in their journey, I think. I do think that COVID brought us very much into the Zoom world. I think a place that you might be able to start would be to see if you could find, either a HealthTree or a local multiple myeloma group where you can just tap in. You don't have to have your screen on. You don't have to engage. You can just listen for a little bit, see if this will be the type of support you need, and kind of go from there. I have changed my idea of what support is and if and when you need it. This is tough. You need support all the time. You can't just put support on your caregiver. People want to help you, ask for help because that helps them to help you. So.
Thank you. I'm going to actually ask Carol to tell a story that I've heard now that she told earlier about asking her husband to tell her when to stop in the biking. I'm going to let you tell it, Carol.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I don't want to be the one that holds everybody back. So if I'm playing pickleball or going for a bike ride, and I'll do the bike ride thing, I I want to keep up with everybody. I want to go as far as we're all going to go. But I struggle sometimes. I definitely struggle because sometimes it's too much. So I had to ask my husband to once in a while say, Carol, take a break. Or once in a while, stop the bike ride that we're doing, whether it's us alone or whether it's somebody else. I want him to stop and say, hey, we need to take a break because I need to take a break, but I don't want to stop the fun. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I don't want to slow the day up. So he does do that now, but I did have to advocate for that. Yeah, because we need to honor what we can do with our own bodies, but I don't want to be the person that slows everybody down all the time. So it's like this awkward thing. So I very much appreciate it when my husband can literally put the brakes on. But I do have to say, I did a lot of research a couple of years ago, and I do have an e-bike. And I know some people might not be a pro e-bike, but mine's not the motorcycle kind. Mine's the kind where you have to pedal if you want to get a little nudge. And I tell you, we went for, I don't know, a 12-mile bike ride the other day, and my husband was huffing and puffing, but I was fine.
I love that. I love that. Thank you again for sharing that story. That was something that I've thought about since our different conversations, and I think that it's an important way to advocate for yourself that maybe people haven't thought of before. So thank you. We're gonna kind of change things up today because
Can,
I do want to
can,
give us the
can
opportunity.
I
Oh,
just
sorry.
say
Go ahead, Steve.
just one quick
Yeah.
thing? I would be remiss if I didn't say this, so I want to say it. Everyone knows that African Americans have twice the amount of multiple myeloma than whites. They die at twice the rate than whites. I am white. I'm Caucasian. Help, and I'm asking everybody to please, if you know any African American, preferably over the age of 50 male, but it could be anybody. If any doctor tells them, oh, you're a little anemic, come back in a year, just fire the doctor. And if you speak to any of them, and most of them don't even know about it, and I want to put a plug in for HealthTree. HealthTree is the only organization that I know who has an African American group that is pressing for this. And if you join HealthTree, please join. As we always say at the meetings, I'm the only white guy there, but I am passionate about this, and I feel so bad. Tell every African American to get tested if they're anemic, if they're tired, if they're 55 years old, and all of you, if you join HealthTree, just join our group. Morally, it's just the right thing to do. And thank you, HealthTree, for doing that. I don't know any other group that's doing that. Thank you.
So much. All right. So we're going to go about things just a little bit differently. I'm going to close out the session and then I will turn off our live stream and our recording. And anybody who just wants to stay around for a couple minutes just to visit, I want to give us that opportunity. So, Marisol, go ahead.
Just right before we stop, I just want to mention what Sharon um, wrote in the chat, that sometimes you don't have family or a support system, but she has Valerie, our coach. And I just wanted to remind you that you can message the patient navigators and our medical team so they can help you prepare for your appointments if you don't have anyone to go to an appointment with, or if you have questions about what to ask or what to look for, you can message them on the chat or send them an email or call our 800 number. I'll send you all the information in the chat so you have it. But that's another resource for, or if you don't have anyone to go with you to the appointments, we have that. And yeah, that was it.
Thank you so much. I had my chat open, but it didn't populate all the new stuff. So I appreciate that you were monitoring that for us, Marisol. Thank you. All right, so we'll close out, like I said, and then if anybody wants to stick around just to chat for a little bit, we will keep it open. So again, as you leave today's session, we'd appreciate you taking the 2 to 3 minutes to fill out the survey about your experience. It helps us understand what we can do better, what we need to put together for future topics. So please take a moment to answer those survey questions. We have several upcoming events during the month of July that I'd like to highlight. So Thursday, July 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we've got Mind Body Wellness for myeloma patients. It's a Tai Chi and Qigong to feel better every day. And this is going to be led by one of our fellow myeloma patients. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Coach Summit, and he is going to guide us through a powerful Tai Chi practice. And if you've ever been curious about Tai Chi, wanted to try it on your own, but didn't want to go to a class, this is a great opportunity to get started. And then Saturday, July 26th, we've got a new program called Connect to Cures that I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. But this is an opportunity to meet other patients, get some support from your local community, and connect with experts as well. And then Tuesday, July 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll hear from Dr. Samir Al-Hadidi, who will help answer the question, can you stop myeloma treatment and still stay in remission? He has some recent data around remission and stem cell transplant that I think will be inspiring and highlight promising steps towards long-term remission or even a cure. I will include the link to register for these and many more events in the follow-up email, so be on the lookout for that. And then this is the Connect to Cures program I wanted to highlight. I've got the QR code on the screen, and I'll also include the link to sign up in the follow-up email. But we've got a list of the different cities we're going to be at, and many of the dates are already provided. So if you're in the area, or if you're not in the, well, if you're in the area and want to attend, we suggest that you get registered. But also if you're in the area, we're always looking for volunteers to hand out flyers, let people know about the program. It is new, so we love any help you can offer in spreading the word. I'd like to again thank our sponsors, Adaptive, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Amgen, and GSK. And there is my email address if you'd like to reach out. And I'm going to go ahead and stop our stream and stop the recording. Let's see, Marisol, can you help with stopping the live stream?
It's
Okay,
great. Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay.